The Feast of Ascension is celebrated in many Catholic churches on the Sunday right before the Sunday called Pentecost Sunday. There is an ancient tradition that the Ascension would be celebrated on the 40th day after Easter. And this tradition is still kept among our Byzantine and our Eastern Catholic and Eastern Orthodox brothers and sisters. Some might say, why is there an Ascension Sunday rather than an Ascension Thursday? Actually, it came about because there was much discussion that this beautiful feast and its meaning had so much to say to God's people that it would be better that we had celebrated along with a Sunday Mass than have it on a Thursday in the middle of the week, where, to tell you the truth, we found a number of people couldn't make it, and sometimes for very legitimate reasons, in terms of family or of jobs, they could not make it. Be that as it may, in some ways, it's important to realize, whether you celebrate on the 40th day after Easter or on the Sunday before Pentecost Sunday, that you realize something about this feast day. It is not just a historical marker. See, sometimes when you say 40 days after Easter we celebrate Ascension, like, oh, okay, that means it happens on that day, and that's it. What happened on that day has implications for every other day. And one of the interesting things about the Feast of Ascension, it's all based on that first Sunday when Jesus rose from the dead. You see, as Jesus rose from the dead and he spent time with his disciples, they were realizing more deeply that something truly happened. Not only did Jesus rise from the dead, but who Jesus was now, having been raised from the dead, having now glorified his glorified existence, what it meant for the whole church. It's very interesting in our creeds, both the Nicene Creed that we recite together each Sunday, it says very simply, He ascended into heaven and is seated at the right hand of the Father. He will come again in glory to judge the living and the dead, and his kingdom will have no end. In the Apostles' Creed, that many of you recite with your rosary or on different occasions, we use it especially at baptisms, we affirm very basically the same wording. On the third day he rose again from the dead. He ascended into heaven, and it is seated at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. From there he will come to judge the living and the dead. It's very interesting that the creeds connect a number of things together that we don't always put together in our heads. He ascended into heaven and sits at the right hand of the Father Almighty. That is an affirmation to say he has been empowered. Not only did he rise from the dead, marvelous, miraculous, and wonderful, and that we will share in that resurrection, but that Jesus himself has been empowered. That's what it means to sit at the right hand. It's language that we don't use today, although we still affirm that if somebody is sitting at somebody's right, especially at a dinner, there's still some of the sense that they're a very important person at that dinner or at that occasion to sit at someone's right. But in Jesus' day and the day of the apostles, that was an affirmation of power, you know. The only person who sat at the right of a king or of a ruler or of an emperor was someone who had very great power in that kingdom. And second point of the creeds is always to mention something about judging the living and the dead, which means that this Jesus that rose from the dead is no longer subject to death, but actually is the ruler of death. He's the ruler of life and death, the living and the dead. He is the norm of evaluation for our human existence. He is the norm for the evaluation of human existence. When we say someone is the judge, we accept that in some ways they have an ability or power to make a discernment or a distinction between things. And in Jesus' case, it has to do with what is really life-giving and what is life-destroying. He makes that judgment call in terms of morality and in the way we should live. And so this Jesus that rose from the dead, in those 40 days, there was a deeper realization that this person was no longer someone just alive, but he was truly empowered to rule their lives and in a very real way to rule the universe. A blessed and happy Ascension Day to all of you.